Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, friends. Folks, my first guest tonight is a pastor and author and a United States Senator from Georgia. Please welcome back to The Late Show, Senator Raphael Warnock. It's good to see you again.
Great to be here.
And how lovely to have a pastor on for Holy Week.
Yep.
Are you preaching this Sunday?
I am. I'm going to try.
All right.
Sunday
Good luck.
morning, Easter Sunday.
Good luck. You've described America as being in a spiritual crisis before Trump was ever elected. And I'm just curious what you would say the state of America's soul is right now.
Yeah, I think people are feeling pretty soul weary. And folks in my business try to capture it with these polls. Are we on the right track, wrong track? I think those questions are important, but they don't really get to the heart of really what's going on. There's a kind of angst. And you feel it. You feel it down in Georgia. I'm sure people feel it back at home. You know, you wake up sometimes in the morning and you just feel, you don't feel great. You don't know why. It's kind of a low-grade fever. Mm-hmm. And it's understandable. I mean, we've been through years of COVID-19, and we lost 1 million Americans. And I think because we have to keep going, we really haven't taken stock of what has happened to us. 1 million people, that's a lot of empty chairs around tables all across the country. And that came on the heels of 20 years of what felt like endless war. And then on top of that, layers of hate and bigotry foisted on us by demagogues of division who are using division for short-term purposes. And so I think people feel soul weary, but I remain hopeful. I really do. And
what's the value? I'm going to ask you a simple question that people doubt sometimes. What is the value of hope?
Oh, hope is everything. And when you lose hope, you stop fighting. And there are those right now. I mean, we can talk about the cuts and all of these things that I'm happy to talk about, that I think they're trying to push a rather immoral budget through the Congress right now, where you rob from the poor in order to give to the rich. But the other
famous saying goes, show me your budget and I'll show you what you value.
It's Robin Hood in reverse, and I think a budget is not just a fiscal document, it's a moral document. But the other thing that's happening in our country right now is that there are those who are trying to weaponize despair. They're flooding the zone, and they're hoping that you won't fight. You need to prove them wrong. I still believe that the power in this country really does rest with the people and not the people in power. And if a kid who grew up in public housing, number 11 of 12 children, first college graduate in his family, can become a United States Senator, anything is still possible in America. And
well, let's talk about. You talked about all the various crises that Americans have experienced and has made them soul weary up to this point. One thing you didn't mention is that there have been repeated financial crises over the last 25 years as well, starting with the first financial crisis of 2000, the stock market crash then. Wealth inequality. Our nation's finances are taking a hit right now. Yesterday, the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, he warned that tariffs could trigger higher inflation. This could be worse than Smoot-Hawley. You're a ranking member of the Finance Subcommittee on Trade, Customs, and Global Competitiveness, and the chair, Senator John Cornyn, said that the tariffs got everyone's attention and brought countries to the table to negotiate fair deals, which is a little confusing because we were told the idea was to bring manufacturing back to the United States. But if you are there to get fair deals, then the manufacturing won't come back because you'll get a fairer deal on the manufacturing coming from other countries. It doesn't add up.
Well, if you talk to the people in Georgia, it certainly doesn't add up, because they're already seeing the impact of this in their grocery stores. Tariffs, especially the way this is being carried out, and tariffs narrowly used could serve a certain purpose, but this is just indiscriminate. It's across the board.
And it changes from minute to minute.
It's pretty random. We're not sure what the president wants, but it's a sales tax, really, on ordinary people. So while they're raising the taxes on ordinary people, because that's who's paying for this, they're very focused on giving a tax cut to billionaires. I think that there's something deeply wrong about that, and I'm going to do everything I can in my power to hold them accountable.
Yep.
Hold them accountable.
Many of the Trump administration's cuts are coming on the backs of some vulnerable people: seniors, children, veterans,
the disabled,
those in need of health care. The Bible often talks about caring for the elderly, for the poor, those who have the least power, the least of my brothers.
That's right.
And why do you think a nation that so frequently wants to describe itself as a Christian nation or one having Judeo-Christian values wants to shirk that collective responsibility to our brothers and sisters?
Well, that has a long history. And it's frustrating in this moment, but we've seen this before. There were a whole lot of Christians who were on the wrong side of the slavery question. They were on the wrong side of the Jim Crow segregation question. And as I read the scripture, there are more than 2,000 verses in the Bible that tell you how to treat the poor. I'm a Matthew 25 Christian. Jesus said, "I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was sick, I was in prison, and you visited me." And someone said to the master, "When were you hungry? When were you sick? When were you in prison?" And he said, "Inasmuch as you've done it unto the least of these, you've done it also unto me." And so what I try to do in my preaching and in my work in the Senate is center the most marginalized members of the human family, center the least of these, give ordinary people a chance. And not only is that the right thing to do, as it turns out, very often the right thing to do is the smart thing to do too. I think our economy will be a whole lot better off if we give tax cuts to ordinary people, middle class people, working class people, rather than billionaires.
As I said earlier, you're not just a senator and a pastor, you're also an author, and you've got a new children's book here. It's called We're in This Together, Leo's Lunchbox. What are we in together, and what's in the lunchbox, Senator?
We're in this together. Look, this is a story about a kid who's dealing with food insecurity. And 1 in 5 children in America is food insecure, and they don't know where their next meal is coming from. And so this is a kid who is tired of those bologna sandwiches. And one night something happens, and his mom gets him this lunchbox, and he goes to school, and in the midst of sharing, something happens, and the kids learn a valuable lesson. The story is informed by one of my favorite biblical stories. It's the feeding of the 5,000. Which, by the way, is the only miracle in Scripture that's in all 4 Gospels. So the early church loved this story.
The loaves and the fishes?
The loaves and the fish.
Yeah.
But he learns in the process, and the children around him, that when we share, everybody can eat. We ought to be generous. And what I hope to do in this book is encourage us to create a community of compassion, to teach our children about generosity, about empathy, about caring for others. And I hope that as we're reading Leo's Lunchbox to our children, we'll embrace those lessons for ourselves. I think I should spread it out to all 535 members of Congress. Right about now.
Senator, thank you for being here.
Good to be with you, brother.
We're in this together. Leo's Lunchbox is available next Tuesday. Senator Raphael Warnock, everybody. We'll be right back with actor Joe Manganiello.